This week on Fade to Obsidian, we will be discussing Lightbringer chapters 77 through 80. We recommend you have read to this point in the book to avoid spoilers. Please be aware that this episode contains discussions about violence, death, as well as strong fucking language. Buckle up, listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Fade to Obsidian, your Red Rising podcast about spaceships, relationships, and everything in between. I am Crescent, joined as always by Skipper.
Hello.
And today we've got returning guest, bookending the end of the book, Prepper.
Welcome,
Thank
Prepper!
you for coming back on.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So all the way from the start of the book to the almost end of the book.
Yeah, interesting how that happened. I only know because of the tabs on my book.
I love it. It makes me
That's
laugh
what happened.
every time.
I don't really tab books otherwise. So when I picked it up when I was gonna record this week, and I was like, here we go, tabs again. So no, I'm excited. It's interesting to be both at the beginning of the story and now kind of recapping it again. I've probably reread the book twice since the last time we recorded.
Oh, wow.
So how many times have you read it then? Now?
I think I'm at 5.
5. Nice.
Yeah,
you're past me now.
Yeah.
I think
you passed me for sure. This is my 3rd.
I'm good now. Like, now I have it, like, really, really in my bones.
Yeah.
And I will go and do a massive reread until Red God.
Right. Makes sense. Love it. Yeah, Crescent, how many times did you listen to just these chapters?
This section was 1.5.
Okay.
Because I worked with somebody all week and then all day today. And so I couldn't just like have an earphone in.
Yeah.
But I listened at 1.7 speed to the end of these, or to the chapters, and then I was making supper and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go again.
Yeah.
So, and the important chapters, I got through 77 and 78 again.
Yeah. I today listened for what will be the third time through. 4th time through? 3rd time through. What am I at here? I'm so confused.
3rd, probably.
3rd.
I feel like it's
You read it, and then you listened and waited until the beginning of our read-through.
Right. And now I'm on the 3rd time through. I don't know why I got confused there. Yeah, today, while sitting at my desk, I almost always drive while reading. So I actually have more notes than usual, which just means 3 post-it notes is what we're up to because I was sitting at my desk. Record. I know. It's normally only half of one. And I will say a lot of these are redundant that I'm like, why did I write down brothers? As if we were going to forget what this entire part was called.
Literally the beginning of that part.
Yeah.
No, come on. It says part 4 first.
You're right.
Okay, but it's on this. It's on the second post-it note, which means I thought like it was only probably at the end of 77 or whatever that I went, brothers.
Yeah.
Now
our Skipper, she takes comprehensive notes.
Comprehensive. So much. We are doing at the end of March, we will have an episode of Count of Monte Cristo crossover with Red Rising, and I was today thinking about how I should actually take notes while reading Count of Monte Cristo, because there's no way I'm gonna remember any of this.
No. Take notes, especially of that book.
Yeah,
There's
right?
so many twists.
Yeah.
So that book is...
No spoilies.
No, I'm not going to spoil it.
It's only been out for 150 years, but I haven't read it.
The funniest part with that book is I had to read that book in high school, and I remember not wanting to read it because my teacher was forcing me to read it, and then we were recapping it in class, and I was like, man, this book sounds really good. I'm gonna end up having to read it, and then picked it back up and caught up and everything. But I was just trying to rebel, and then I was like, book sounds good.
Actually, yep, I know. But there's a lot to it. So I
Yeah.
promise to take notes for Count of Monte Cristo. And this is everybody's warning that you have essentially a month and a half to read it before.
Dear God.
Yep. Crescent, have you started? Probably not.
Yeah, actually, I'm like, I don't know, 6 pages in or something.
So proud of you.
It's been given the ship.
I love it. All right, what are we drinking tonight before we go further? Prepper, what do you have?
I'm keeping it light and simple today. I have a beer. I'm having
Nice.
Rubia by a local brewery here in Florida.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, keeping it local.
Yeah. Crescent, what do you have?
As a true disciple of Arcos,
Yes.
I have special edition Lagavulin 12.
With this.
This is the one. So I was talking with Pillar about these ones.
Yeah.
Because you've got that open.
I've got the open. Yeah, it's got
rabbit.
the.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah, like the Aurora Borealis rabbit. And his is a phoenix.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep. I am a failure and was going to be a disciple of Arcos. I will admit it. We just had a long conversation whether or not I was going to lie about it, and I feel like someone would call me out of that's not what you're drinking.
Right.
I was going to say I was drinking Lagavulin, and I was late to record today and was driving. And all today I was like, there was something specific I was supposed to drink for these chapters. And it was on the way home while late for recording. Then I went, shit, it's Lagavulin. And I am out at the moment, so I have a different whiskey, which is also I don't know how you pronounce this.
It's Isla. It's Colila.
Yeah, sure, that. So, yeah, it's also an Isla. Like, we're keeping on the theme. It's fine. But yeah.
It's okay.
I feel like Lorne, it would be like his backup.
Yeah.
Yep.
No?
The cheap stuff.
We need to ask Pierce whether or not the Lagavulin in general, Lagavulin 12, 16, whatever it is it still being made, or is it that Lorne somehow got into the old, distillery? Yeah, and it's like aged for 16 years 700 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good question. You got to throw that
Yeah,
up
it
in
is.
the den room where we put all the questions.
Yeah.
In the Reaper's room.
I will.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
You
right,
do that right now.
this
We
very
gotta
second.
ask
Right
Pierce now. Because Guinness could still be around. I mean, any of them could still be around. Guinness may not.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, Guinness has a lease on their building for 999 years. Skipper of the future year. Correction. It is 9,000 years. The Guinness rental agreement is for 9,000 years.
Really? I did not know that.
That's when they first signed it, which was like, I forget, they're a couple hundred, like 150 years old. So where we are in Red Rising, Guinness may still be in the same building.
That's a lot of
Hell yeah.
confidence in your brand that you signed a lease and said, "No, I'm going to be around for a long time."
Okay, but do you know how much the lease was for?
Like what? Like $2?
$1.
Wow, you fucking
Nice.
crazy.
So if you're Guinness, you're taking it.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
is Lagavulin still kicking around? If Guinness is around, do we still get some of the others? I'm
Good
just
question.
saying. And when are we going to get a Guinness appearance in Red Rising?
No, that's it. We've got to send a letter to Pierce and tell him
That's
to be in Red God.
Yeah.
That's Swill.
Swill is
That's
just
what Swill is.
That's what
It's
Swill
Guinness.
is. It's Guinness. It's all the Irish took all the Guinness. Yep.
Yep.
Oh, it all makes sense. It's all coming together.
Yep.
But yeah, we kick off this episode in what is probably my favorite chapter, maybe of the series. I might go so far as to say, just because it's this very sentimental, it's very different from my other favorite chapter, which is a dragon hunt. But we get the return to Lorne's home, Old Stonesides, and just a very human connection, which I absolutely love. I think this whole episode we're going to be packed with. There's a lot of relationship building in this.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of just human to human until we get into the end, and then it's not as much. But yeah, we get this beginning. I only just noticed your T-shirt, Crescent. Arco's Academy. Look at you go.
Yep.
On point.
I am on point today.
You are on point today. Good job. Yeah, I think this chapter also it's another nod at back to the beginning, and like a nice little tie-in certain aspects. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it almost for the same reason that you did. That it was very human. For me, Darrow wasn't the Reaper. Wasn't he wasn't anybody but just Darrow. For this chapter.
Yes.
And it comes off the heels of having found his way and did the path and kind of, gave himself over to it, and how it's led him to this moment where I think that he's only able to truly appreciate it and be human in this moment because of all of that.
Right.
And it kind of coalescing into this moment.
Yeah, I think he's finally, kind of for the first time, at least since the Institute, getting to actually be friends with Cassius.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they've been peers, they've been enemies, they've been rivals, they've been sparring partners, they've been buddies, but like in this chapter they are truly friends, deeply friends.
Yeah.
They are, brothers, right? Like the
exactly. Yeah.
Right, I also feel like they kind of started off building that brotherly friendship, and again went through all what actual brothers would have gone through, is like turmoil and fighting, and as we're growing and we disagree and yada yada, and what ends up happening is what comes at the end of it all. And I just loved that they both accepted their own banters, like their own way of being, and letting it happen and not getting in the last word or the last jab. Like there's a few moments in there he's like, and I let him. Or Cassian just looked at me and said, like there's a few moments in there that there's those things. I thought it was a beautiful chapter. All in all, an amazing bromance that we don't often get and haven't gotten in a few books.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, it is very back to, I think, like, one of the reasons I love Golden Sun so much, of you get in Golden Sun and Morning Star those human to human, this is why you should trust me moments. And obviously Cassius isn't part of that thought, but you get, it's reminiscent, and we'll get the call out of Tactus, but it's, and Roke. It's very back to that of, these are my friends and why. And even with Severo, we haven't seen it because we've been at odds with Severo. We haven't seen that since Morning Star of, hey, like, we're in this together kind of a thing. And what we used to get, why Ragnar trusted him. So very much back to the basics of it. And I just love that it is happening somewhere we've been, but for very different, like, it's a callback again to Golden Sun. It is, hey, look back where we are. It's a callback to Lorne, especially the number one first note I made was the Razor Masters. The two, like, we know Diomedes is kicking around somewhere. Ignoring Diomedes for a moment. The two Razor Masters are hanging out at the ultimate Razor Master's house and talking about Lorne in a way that they will once, like, eventually be talked about, and talking about what Lorne meant to Darrow and what Alexander and Lysander mean to these men of that. Like, there's so many cool reflections in that, but not in a let's stroke our ego way, but a like, let's bring Lorne the legend down to earth. Let's bring Darrow and Cassius down to earth. Like, this might be, like we were saying, it's what, 27 pages is what you said, Prepper? And
Yeah,
this might
27.
now be our longest episode just so we can talk about this one chapter.
Yep. Sorry, Badger, you're getting the boot. It kind of makes me sad, but also totally doesn't surprise me that Darrow actually says, like, I don't have memories of this place besides when I came to bring Lorne out of retirement.
Yeah.
I also think that that was like, in its own beautiful way and like this poetic way, kind of like the cost of war, right?
Yep.
Like he went in
Yep.
there, pulled Lorne out. He talks about how his room was left exactly as it was. And it showed him also, I think, like a moment where he realizes that Lorne only doesn't have weapons in there. It's not like Severo's room in the ship, where they have all these trophies and this constant
Yeah.
like reminder of all this like violence and like roughness and all that. Lorne was really done. And I also think that that also speaks to how much he believed in Darrow, that he was really this done and still tricked in a way, but went to war with Darrow. And he does say that, and you made a comment about Lorne and him, and one said like the fact that Cassius himself says that Lorne would have been flattered if from Darrow being a reflection of him, and like how important that was for Darrow in that moment to see that, and the possibility of maybe having what Lorne eventually had, which was his family and his grandchildren and
Yeah.
all of that other stuff, which is ultimately what Darrow was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I love the storytelling. Like, I think we have to focus in a little bit of the shaving of the beards. And it's
Beardless.
the peerless beardless. Hilarious. But it's this like tribute to Lorne of, I'm gonna use a razor, which I obviously have not shaved my face. I mean, maybe that isn't obvious. Maybe people do think I shave my face, but I have, thinking shaving my legs, something a lot less scary, because if you nick your leg, whatever, bleeds a little bit, but whatever. But like with a long blade, like I'm just thinking of like
With a sword.
with a sword. I'm already thinking that like maybe I've watched Sweeney Todd too much, that like just a straight razor scares me, but like a sword? That's just how you lose a nose, people.
Or how?
Yeah.
Let's just, and Cassius, who does it? Cassian
Perfect.
does it with
Yeah,
nothing.
Darrow does it in a mirror.
Right, he's
And
walking
and Cassius is
talking.
just walking.
He's like, hey,
And no nicks. Darrow comes away a little bit
Also,
cut. Perfect. The word is
speaking of no
perfect.
nicks, he calls it back to having not taken an injury.
Oh, I
while
hope I don't
liberating
open
the
one of my
Pandora.
wounds. Just kidding.
God damn it.
Perfect,
Unbelievable.
Cassius.
I love him. So charming.
Yeah, but I just love the way it's done and kind of resetting us back to, because we don't know Darrow as somebody bearded. Like that's never been in Lysander. Get that voice. Lightbringer is what I was going for. Lightbringer resets us back to this how we think of Darrow. And okay, let's get back to the beardless peerless.
I also love that Darrow himself takes it and attributes it to him saying goodbye. He makes a mention of like getting rid of the beard was kind of him releasing Ragnar and Lorne, and like saying goodbye to them and that piece of them, with that like that shedding of something that isn't him, and being able to be at peace with it at that moment, which I thought was also another beautiful little nod of like, this is already done. I've done what I could to honor them.
Yeah. The deep mind breeze has blown around them.
Yeah. I love that. Well, and we get into Darrow's thoughts on Alexander, which then ends up, talking Cassius and Lysander, and that connection there, which I just absolutely love that. This is one of my notes. Cassius comments about how he knew about what Alexander was and being a lancer and more than a lancer to Darrow from Severo, and calls it out of, we do have conversations when you're not around. And I think us, even as the reader, didn't really expect that. I think Severo might have done it, throwing it in Cassius's face of, Lysander did this to our perfect sweet little angel Alexander, his cousin. But I just like that Cassius is like, yeah, we do talk when you're not around.
I also think it's funny because a part of me is also like, they're so pining for his attention that they can only talk in a civilized conversation when he's not around, and they're both like, but pick me, Darrow, but pick me, you know. So they can only talk to each other when he's not around. Like, fine, how are you?
How are you? How are you doing today?
Yeah,
That's
how you
so
been?
funny. They're both the pick me girls. Oh
They
my
are
god.
both pick me girls.
For the record, we have now called Roke is our original pick me. We said Fa was a pick me, and now we are calling out both Severo and Cassius as pick me girls.
I mean, to be fair, Cassius does literally tell Darrow that they are together until Mustang fights him.
Correct. I believe he mentions it again in this chapter. So it's like, you know, I think he I can't remember if it's this chapter, but it's in this 4 that we talk about that he mentions something about the honeymoon.
Oh yeah, honeymoon is honeymoon's this chapter, I think, and then Mustang fighting him is next chapter.
Right. So I'm like, he is pick me. He's definitely a pick me. At least for Darrow's attention, the both of them are.
Yeah.
I think for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Alexander thing. Although in this chapter, so did anybody else, when you read, like they're talking about like who's the presentation of the other back and forth, and he mentioned how Calloway is that for Orion, and I was like, ooh, but which Orion? Like, cause like Ryan turns.
Yeah, Orion the pirate or Orion the Doom war god.
Yeah, cause I was like, I don't know if I would want that comparison. I don't know at that moment.
Either that, or is that foreshadowing?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Added another layer to that. I'm gonna add another sticky note to this page now.
Tab it. Tab it.
Tab that.
Yeah, interesting.
Darrow did always say that Calloway's number has been counting down, not up.
That's interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I took that and I was like, I don't know if I like that particular comparison. Everything else is and up until this point at this chapter, I think because us as the reader, we know more of Lysander's reasoning behind things, because then Darrow kind of says, and Lysander is that for you, because they're still under this impression that everything's grand, and we kind of see all the other things behind the page, and so the fact that that's in the same line, I can see how that might also be a foreshadowing. Calloway and Orion, Lysander, and Cassius. So.
Yep, interesting. Well, it's hilarious. Not until we're recording right now did I remember that Lysander is in fact an Arcos. It is something now. The cousins, yeah.
Yeah, the shittiest Arcos, but.
Well, doesn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong, but in Golden Sun, Lorne kind of rejects him and is like, he's not mine anymore, just based on.
Yes.
So
that's exactly correct.
Yeah, so that's an interesting, just having that Alexander Lysander of being both descendants of Arcos, and where did they both come from? We know that Alexander got to hang out where Alexander grew up, where they're walking around right now.
Right.
And how much influence Lorne actually had on Alexander, rather than Lysander being taken away almost immediately, if he was ever even there, to be raised by the other side, literally.
Right.
Normally it's the other side of the family, but in this case we're going to be dramatic about it and just say the other side.
Yeah.
And that just, but at the same time, then Cassius attempting, well, and Darrow attempting the fact that he was the one who gave him to Cassius to bring him somewhat back. It kind of makes an interesting full circle that, you know, yeah, I don't know. I've just had that spark of like, oh yeah, Lysander,
Right.
he's an Arco.
And
Yeah.
that was also, I
Yeah,
think,
he just doesn't show it very often.
Yeah.
very few moments.
No idea what that honor is. Has no idea how to be a razor master.
No. That makes me so mad every time I think about
No
it.
honor,
Like
no time.
no honor, no nothing. And what a disgrace. Like for somebody who worries so much about like their presence, right? In front
Yeah.
of other people, to do something so cowardly in their world, to have done something so cowardly as to not have given him a true fight. I mean, we have Apple who's willing to give Darrow a true fight. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I want to fight you when you're prime, you know, and all this other stuff. So that was upsetting. So I'm glad that he could also make peace a little bit with Lorne, at Lorne's place after what happened with Alexander, and that Cassius kind of gives him the words he needs to hear with regards to that, and the respect
Yeah.
that lost Darrow deserves to feel.
Yeah. For sure.
I figured out something else today.
What was that?
Do you remember one of the first pieces of artwork that Pierce shared? It was Darrow kneeling in a grotto of some sort, right? And there's figures, like a broken down statue behind him.
Oh, yeah.
That's here.
Oh.
Because it talks about the inlay of the willow, and the broken down statues of the gods.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
that's that artwork.
Interesting.
We always thought it was later.
Yeah. Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. I have to give fucking Cassius, right? So right after they're having this really like emotional moment of like talking back and forth, one of my favorite moments is Darrow's trying to compliment him and you're so selfless and yada yada yada, and he has to make a comment about how it's his chin and how he just distracts everybody with, because he's the most handsome person in the room and heavy is the chin that sets the bar. And then I love it because he points to it later at the end of
it
this
literally
chapter.
distracts Volga. And he just goes and Darrow's like, you asshole.
You jerk. What a dick. But it's true, you know. But I thought that was just, it's always like it's a beautiful way of like having that comedic moment when you need it, but it's not just comedic because he believes it, you know. I feel like
sure.
He
like
knows it.
He
Yeah,
knows
it's not a belief, it's certainty.
Right.
I'm trying to think of who in alive today is that handsome that it does not matter who you are. You're like, yeah.
Henry Cavill.
It's funny because that is who I was thinking of. But I didn't know if that's because he's also nerdy, so we're all attracted to his nerdy side. But yeah, it is Henry Cavill.
I go by for Henry Cavill. Right? That is
that's the one that you're.
That is the one.
Crescent's agreeing. Yeah.
Like, no, you know, like all my friends laugh at me because I have like get out of jail free car girls and like everybody that knows who, like, I like all these, like, I'm a Emma Stone fan and I love Kristen Stewart, so they tag me and everything. But I will get like 50 tags a minute Henry Cavill even sneezes because of my obsession with him. Like, it is so bad. Like, and I'll get the same, and I don't mind it because I'll be tagged. If you want to tag me 20 times in this video, that I will spend my day lovingly do that. Like, I've already had 10 messages today. Did you see Henry Cavill's new movie trailer? And I was like, yes, I did. I will be going to go see it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
I didn't see it.
Ungentlemanly Warfare.
He's manic.
Ooh.
He's burly, and he's manic as hell. And I have never seen
Oh.
Henry Cavill manic like that. So I'm like,
Yeah,
yes,
Skipper, go watch that trailer after we're done here.
yes, please.
Hard
Now,
recommend.
just to kind of Argyle, what they did to his hair, I need him to wear a hat, but I will still watch the movie. But his hair is so bad. I think it's the only time he's been not as attractive, right? Because I can see
Mm.
Yeah,
past the
been
hair.
less attractive. Yeah.
Less attractive.
Not attractive.
Right. Not let's not get
Just
crazy.
less.
Just less.
Yeah, don't be ridiculous.
We're not crazy over here. So yeah, Henry Cavill is
Henry
who I would say
Cavill.
is
See, I thought Henry Cavill, but I don't know because I always am more attracted to people's brains than like their looks, and he has the nerdy that like I'm like, am I just
Oh, yeah.
attracted to Henry Cavill because like he fully knows his Witcher shit, like he
Yeah.
fully
He was
is
the
in
one
it to
keeping
win it.
keeping the show on track.
Yeah,
which is why he stopped because they wouldn't listen to him anymore. So,
I know.
Yeah.
well, he built a computer. He plays
Yes.
Warhammer. Like,
Yes.
I'm like, so,
He almost missed being Superman because he was raiding World of Warcraft.
right. So
Dear
that
God.
for me, that those two worlds never
Oh,
made sense to me.
so
to be that-
sexy to me.
right, but you're such a nerd, and then you look like that, and my brain goes like, what?
Yeah, it's bouncing from side to side. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I feel you.
So definitely, that's the Cassius of my generation. Is definitely
It's Henry Cavill.
Henry
All
Cavill.
right. Well, we
Henry
can't.
Cavill.
You guys at the same time said it, and you two are the ones who are not normally attracted to the. So, like, I'll agree. Like, I'm not going to
Right.
disagree.
Straight man and the lesbian said it, so it must be true.
so the
Yeah.
straight woman will have to agree.
Oh man. But yeah, so back to his chin, and I mean, we even know that that's like a thing that Screwface wanted was that.
Oh
that
yeah.
that same
Oh,
chin.
screw.
And now, actually, in your first set of chapters, we talked about how he finally got the chin that was
Yes, that's why I'm
possibly like rivaled Cassius.
thinking it back.
Oh.
Yep, he had
Oh.
finally gotten it. And then what I love right after this is we finally get the possibility of poor Truffle Pig's new call tag.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
yeah.
That is the next note, so I'm glad. The next one
Okay.
literally says, okay, it says Cassius brightens up when he sees that she is coming in.
Yep.
Yep.
And then the best is she like refuses, that she's like, it's Lyria, and he's like, who? Lyria, who? Lyria, who? Truffle Pig. And she's like, oh, okay.
Truffles.
Truffle.
Oh, you!
Come on
I know
in.
you.
And it's Darrow who's like, we should. No, he says that she doesn't like it. Darrow says you can't say or
Choose your
Yeah, you don't
own.
get to choose
calls
your own.
him. Which
Right,
Salem loves that line because the amount of
Yep.
howlers who try and choose their own howler name, and she's like, no. So she's got that one like in writing
bag.
of like, you don't choose your own call sign.
Page 582, spoken by Darrow, line 4, verse 5. This is the
Yeah.
way it is. But what I
Um,
think is also interesting is it's actually Darrow
yeah,
who
who
comes up with
says
the
it?
idea. Who's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what do you call a baby eagle? And then that's when he loses it. He's
Cassius is like, aw.
But then it's like,
Yeah.
she's gonna hate it.
perfect.
Aw,
I-
she'll
I
hate
like
it.
that- I like that Pierce calls it out. It's like he just saw a puppy. It's like the cutest thing you can imagine.
That was
Uh,
absolutely
Eaglet
great.
one. Which there is a
Eaglet.
shirt that
Yes.
Salem made. You can get it at howlerhollow.net, and it's Truffle Pig X'd out and then says Eaglet.
And then there's also a sticker that'll have the XOXO at the bottom of that
Yes.
same thing
Yeah.
with Cassius' signature on it, which
I
I thought
love
was
it.
great.
I love
Yeah.
it.
I thought it was great. I have the stickers all over the place.
Yeah. So
Um,
cute.
Which leads us into Volga showing up.
Love it. Absolutely love this part of the back to back of Volga being like, "You set me up. Now people want to make," and he's like, "Yeah, congrats. Why is this a problem?"
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
Yep.
Yep, yep. And
Yeah,
she's
he's
like, "Oh, I
like,
don't want it," and then he's like, "Oh, that is a problem." Like, wait a second. Now that might be a problem that you don't want it.
yeah, don't you go fucking up my plans.
yeah.
Right.
But I think before we even get into that, the call out of why Darrow is not there, because we will eventually get Severo's absolutely manic retelling of what
Oh my god,
happened,
I love it.
is the best. My note refers to it as like your drunk friend is spilling tea. Like it's just like all over the place. But I love that Darrow is so aware and pulls himself out of it. Oh, that's fully later, but yeah, like is fully pulls himself away from what's happening and why he's there. So then Volga has to seek him out of like, what have you done? And Darrow's like,
Right.
I'm not part of this, but also I am. So like, let me tell you
I
about
think
your father, but also I'm not part of this.
I think he played it. I think his conversation with Volga for me was one of his most balanced um conversations to have with someone that needed to be both human and politically driven and war driven, but still finding that balance. And often Darrow has had a hard time finding that balance. And this isn't doesn't stick may not stick around, but for this conversation at this moment that Volga is so sensitive, I think he played it really well in like, yeah, I kind of set you up, but this is why. And they can still not vote for you. Like it could still go the way that it's going to go, but that needs to be the choice of you guys, and you need to figure that out. This is how I would want it, obviously, but ultimately I have no say. And I think it's another way of him understanding, and he kind of makes a mention to it of understanding that the path is the path and he can't fight it. He's just got to go with what that flow is. And he kind of mentions how this path right now just keeps bringing him obstacles and obstacles and obstacles. But right now, all his friends are alive. They've gotten soldiers. They've obtained their, ships and things of that nature. So it must be doing something right. And so I thought that I was really proud of him in the way that he handled Volga. And especially since I have like the soft spot for Volga, because for me she was always a very big warrior, a little kid in a warrior's body. Um,
Yeah.
For sure.
that's just
Our little golden retriever, I think we called
yeah,
her the one
Yep.
time. She's just
yeah,
the golden retriever.
it's a good pup.
She will be loyal to whoever offers her love, which is how she gets in some shit sometimes of following
Mm.
Ephraim
And
and
animals,
yeah, and
get her a
animals.
zoo, get
Oh
her
my
a zoo,
god.
and she's good.
Yeah. Um but yeah, I
Um,
absolutely love this back and forth and him calling on his relationship with Ragnar. It's the second time. So Savro, we know, has given her the spiel via Hollow Cube. And now Darrow gets to say, this is who Ragnar was. This is who your father was. And talks about his relationship with Ragnar and then says, like, you have a friend in Lyria like that, and I will be your friend. Like, just that
Yep.
full
mhm.
call of friendship, of I will back you. That's what Ragnar was to me. That's what Lyria is to you. I will do the same. And I just love that
I also
connection.
love the duality of these two reds buddying up and being like best friends with
Yeah.
these obsidians. You know,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
at the end Daryl's a red, right? And he made this bond.
Yeah.
And then they often make this correlation that like the reds were slaves, but so were the obsidians, and they're very in a very different way and living a different two different types of lifestyles. But then for these two, who for in one way are at the bottom and at the
Yeah.
top, but under control, to be best friends in these both two different aspects, I thought was also a really beautiful call
Yeah.
um, to those friendships.
For sure.
100%.
Yeah.
I like that Darrow uses the quote from Ragnar that's, a man believes he can fly but is scared to fall. a poor friend pushes him, a good friend jumps with.
Yeah.
When he's essentially offering his friendship, his and Severo's.
And Severo's. Congrats, Severo.
Yeah.
You're stuck in this.
Yeah. Welcome to being friends with an Obsidian.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. Severo was as closer to Ragnar than as Darrow was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had different friendships, right? Because
Yeah. Oh,
Darrow
for sure.
when Severo and Ragnar really bonded was when Darrow was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Severo's bonds happen when Darrow's not there because, again, I keep saying he's a pick-me for Darrow.
It's true.
Because, you know, it's when Darrow's trapped and they're trying to just save him that he becomes really good and close with Ragnar. But even Ragnar, I think he trusted him like a little brother and he loved him that way. But I think that he respected Darrow in a different light, just because Severo was so much more volatile at that time than Darrow was for certain things.
Okay, sorry. What instantly connected in my brain there was if Darrow was not at the Institute. Let's go all the way back to Red Rising. This has nothing to do with this episode, other than we're full in our nostalgia. This is our Red Rising reprieve. This is it's Red Rising Golden Sun. That's all we're reflecting on. Little bit of Morningstar with Ragnar. If Darrow is not at the Institute, would Severo have latched on to someone else? I doubt Cassius or Roke, but is there someone he else would have backed, or would he have just stayed in the bushes the whole time?
That's a really, really good question. I don't think that he would have latched on to anybody else at Mars. I don't know if he would have found someone else to match up at a different house than where he was at. Because who's to say how he would have felt about someone like Pax, who was crazy and like wild but good-hearted and like a good guy and like all of these other things that he just didn't have an opportunity to meet. But I definitely don't think that there was anybody at House Mars that would have been able to get a hold of him the way that he kind of bonded with Darrow.
Yeah.
I definitely don't think that would have happened.
Yeah, I definitely don't think there would be anybody that's like to that level. But I mean, he does kind of latch onto Quinn a little bit. Just even as the story is. So
yeah,
I don't know. I could see that being a thing.
Interesting. I don't know.
More of a thing. Anyway.
I just instantly thought of that as we were talking about.
But, I mean, it is a good question because I mean, we are who we surround ourselves with, right? And like who we, and that's how we grow. We grow and evolve with input from all the different people. But I don't think that I think what also piqued his interest was that he didn't know Darrow, right? He kind of grew up knowing the kind of golds that he was now being surrounded with, and Darrow kind of popped out of nowhere. So it was an intriguing person who thought differently. You did certain things differently than the rest of the golds that I think kind of made Severo go, you know, because he hated all the other golds so much. And I actually think that it might have even been possible that he would have just taken the lower golds, and kind of made a band of misfits, like he did with the Howler, you know.
Yeah.
But it would have been a lot less goal oriented. It would have just been to be manic.
It would have just been chaos,
just to slaughter and slave people and say, you know, fuck you to golds in a way that he can, because they literally told him to. Like, please go take your own people as slaves. Try not to kill them, but if it happens, you know.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be too mad about it.
It is what it is.
Total tangent there, but just interesting things that pop into my brain.
This whole chapter, I absolutely love the heavy amount of banter that we get between Darrow and Cassius. It's like there's like almost zero very serious lines between the both of them. Like, oh, the doer walk in the forest, you know, the chin, just everything. It's hysterical. And I love it.
I think Pierce did a great job with keeping this true to them, who they are and who they are together, because we get a lot of sentiment while still keeping all the humor and all of that. Like, there was no beat that they were off in their banter. There was like, it was like tit for tat. Like, Darrow at one, Cassius gets with another, and it was like this beautiful back and forth, but it held so much sentiment in just what they chose to banter about.
Yes.
And the jabs
like
they chose to give.
fencing with feelings.
Right.
Oh, look at the Razor Masters are back.
I mean, he does mention the gala.
He does. That's because it's a very interesting. Darrow says, "Yeah, that was it."
He goes, well, "Don't mention the gala."
Yeah, but Darrow is the one who's like, "Hey, like Lauren didn't want me to go back into that world. He wanted me to just stay here. And what would have happened?" And Cassius goes, "You wouldn't have been at the gala." And then quickly is like,
"Okay." He's like, "Oh, you said it."
Oh man, so good. It was so good. And then it ends with them finding out that the scores have been tallied.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna find out whether or not Volga was voted in. And we get to the drunk teenage.
The drunk, like your friend at the bar being like, "All right, stop." Like, I need to find it almost because what line? There's one line he just keeps repeating it and is like, "I'm done, I'm done," and it just such like, Severo, come the fuck down. Okay.
Yeah, I have it like right here, but it is like a rambling, and I know that a lot of people read the physical book, and I love you for it, but the audio for this,
oh my god, it's so good.
So good. It was so good. So he's like, then I was thinking, shit, Obsidians love thrones. This is bad. But then she said the gold's dream of being a top. Ragnar dreamed of breaking it. She gave a speech. Then she told us, like, he's just like, and then?
And then? And then? And then?
Yeah.
It is like...
It's like half a page.
It is. It is half a page. No, and then I love it because Darrow cuts him off and he's like, I'm not done.
Yeah.
And then? And then his wrap-up, because he goes all crazy and he's like, ah, and this was great and it was bloody fantastic and yada yada yada, and then Darrow's like, oh, so it went well, and he's like,
it was fine.
It went fine. Okay, yeah, bye, gotta go.
Yeah.
That's literally my note that I wrote.
Literally
the note I have was, it was fine. Like, he goes in this whole thing is like, it was fine, gotta go.
Alright. Yeah. No big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, want me to steal you anything?
At the end of it, yes. Want me to steal you anything? No. That was a test. And it's like Darrow knows he's lying. And then it's don't die. Bye.
Like, just bye. Later.
So good.
Yeah, that is the most chaotic shit.
But that's how I
like
picture
listening to that for the first time. So like, oh my god. First of all, TGR nailed the fuck out of it.
Let's get nostalgia back into this. Reminds me back of Morningstar when they're filling Darrow in and they're walking down the hallway and Cassius is, or not Cassius, Severus just on his rant about like, and then we did this, and then we did this, and like Ragnar's going on like a sea demon, and like all of this, and then like at some point like Ragnar shoves Severo down like a hallway. And then Severo loops back around and shows up again and is like, hey boss, like so much.
I'm a terrorist warlord. You can't throw me.
That's what
and
it is.
And then Ragnar has stolen his candy bar.
Yeah.
You know how many people I had to kill to get that? 6.
I love his manic self. I do.
Oh God.
I do. And then just how he goes at 100 and then just goes, whoop, and I'm off. Bye.
Bye. It was fine. Gotta go. Bye.
He's like a delicious little ADHD ball.
Oh my god.
He is a wind-up wolf.
He is a wind-up wolf.
He goes until the wind-up runs out, and then he's done.
All right, so so this chapter I felt kind of like because now we get Diomedes kind of back in the picture. 'Cause he's out on this ship with them, and I guess they're trying to. This is when they're headed to the Garter.
Yeah. Okay, but before we get that, can we get that like Darrow calls out that the Archimedes comes back in with a perfect landing and he realizes that Lyria is no longer driving.
No longer driving.
No longer.
Which, going back, I love that she tried to be super smooth. Almost that you actually hear her. Oh shit! On the mic over comms, just being like, oh shit. Nope, janitorial duty for you still.
Yep, but yeah, it comes back. Before that, though, it's actually in between that where Darrow calls back and uses, this is where my brother's comment is, because that's when Cassius and Darrow finally decide that they are brothers. I just need to throw in so my notes make sense. We get that.
Yes, you're right. How dare us? Just talk about the brothers. You know, how dare us?
Yeah.
No, that's later in this chapter when they're in the cockpit of the Archimedes.
Is that in the? Damn it!
Yeah.
I was like, wait, how dare us?
Oh man.
Okay, so we're in the cockpit because Cassius can actually drive.
There is a thing we glossed over when we were talking Lyria showing up. And Cassius is chatting shit about her. Or at her, I should say, not about her. And Darrow's like, he literally acts like he's 12.
12. I know. So like, can we have the discussion?
He's like a little boy with a crush. Like,
can we have this discussion? Which then later it's called out of him and Aurea. But like some people don't like the idea of Cassius and Lyria. I literally, my text to Cassius, or you are now Cassius, to Crescent, was about how won me over this whole book to Cassius. We know I was not the biggest Cassius fan. Won me over that I am now Team Cassius. And then I said, but Lyria's a bit young. Because I, the whole time, read it that he switches from having a crush on Ori to a crush on Lyria. But there is a lot of people who highly disagree with this and will get in fights with you of they are just friends. What are we feeling? Safe space. We will do this without, if we disagree, we will have healthy communication about it. But what is our feeling toward that?
So my personal feeling about it is not a lovey relationship.
Okay.
I actually, early on, for me, early on in his banters with Lyria, I think that Lyria found him attractive because, again, he's Henry Cavill, so everybody finds him attractive.
Yeah.
You can't not find him attractive. But I think that I don't know. I kind of got the feeling that he had this huge disappointment in what had happened with Lysander. He was utterly alone.
Okay.
Had no one.
Yeah.
Everybody had kind of abandoned him. He still feels weird hanging out with Severo and Darrow because he still doesn't know kind of where he fits in this scheme. He knows why he's there. He doesn't know where he fits. And Lyria's in the same boat. She's chasing after Volga, who's her only friend. She does have a stake in the game. She's on the ship with the two men whose fathers she helped kidnap. So they are both needing a bond of some sort. And I also think that I have an older brother, and I have a lot of guy friends who kind of treat me the same way and banter and make fun of me and kind of poke at me the same way. So I had automatically seen it. And the fact that he says like a 12-year-old boy, and he wants to make her mad, and he wants to do all of this like a brother would. Like my brother loved to do that stuff to me, was to make me mad. How can he make me mad? Whether it was pulling my finger or farting in a jar and then making me smell it later. Like it was like insane. Oh yeah.
Does the jar thing actually work? Total sidestep. I feel like can you actually hold and fart into a jar?
If it's within a certain amount of time, the gases will hold in like a mason jar. Listen, my brother and I have a very interesting relationship.
Yeah.
But it's like a brotherly thing. So I guess bringing that into it while I'm reading it, I always just saw it as that. I saw it as he wasn't going to be physically attracted to her. I think that he was attracted to what she offered, and that she didn't judge him for anything because she didn't know anything he had done, who he had done it with. She knows of him, knows certain things, but they're both kind of in this having fucked up.
Yeah.
She fucked up. He fucked up. Now there are these two random solo fuck ups on this, and she drinks with him. So I almost felt like they were getting drunk and venting and having
Yeah.
that sisterly thing. So that was my point on it. I didn't see it as romantic.
Yeah. I'm mostly in that camp. However, I do kind of read it as being like preliminary attraction. Not like oh, I'm so enamored with you, but like we are becoming really really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And he has been shunned by Ori, for lack of a better word. And I don't think he's ever had a relationship with somebody who he actually likes as a person, other than the brief time he was with Mustang, and who also likes him for who he is.
Yeah.
And so, like, it may not be like a something that he realizes, but it is something that I could see developing.
That is exactly where I'm at. And that's where you get the 12-year-old boy, like you get some of that, like
Yeah, he's pulling her hair, like
exactly
poking her, whatever, you know.
Yeah, that's where we're in the same camp there, which is why I was like, but I at the same time was like, she's young, even though she continues to try and claim she's not. She is 10 years younger, and like
Yeah.
there is a difference between a 20-year-old and a 30-year-old. Let's call it out. Like let's call a spade a spade.
It's true.
But yeah, I always saw of like as you say, because we'll get right after this where Darrow asks basically Cassius of like, so are we over Ori? Are we
Right.
over it? Which then makes it of like if he does have an attraction to Lyria, has not noticed it. It's not a thing, but just in how he treats her differently. But it might just be that we have not seen him treat anyone in the way he treats her. So it might like I think there's so many levels to this. This is where I'm going to bring in that as of last week, when we're recording today, but
Right.
will be a week ago in that, and it
From
will
when we
be,
posted. Right.
yeah, and it will be linked today in our bio. There is a survey for Lightbringer. The survey gives multiple choice. One of the multiple choice asks you, what do you think of Cassius and Lyria? Your answers are basically just friends, lovers, or they secretly hate each other, because why not? Who knows? I want to meet the person who puts that one in there. The survey is all multiple choice or short answer, in which you need to just give me like this person and this person, like give me 3 words in that short answer. If you have longer explanation of why you especially disagree with us right now, you want to be that person who says they actually secretly hate each other and they're just down for each other's demise, I want to hear it. And you can email that in at fade2obsidian@gmail.com. Either we want the voice messages because we're
Yep.
going to use this in
Yep.
an episode,
Please
and
send
we
us voice
want to
messages.
hear the voice messages. But if you're not comfortable with that, you get one of us imitating you. Or if you're not
It may
cool
or
with
may not be
email,
flattering.
yeah, good luck.
Roll of the dice.
Yep.
We might make someone else pretend to be you. Who knows? Do you know
Ooh,
how
that'd be
many
fun.
people fight over doing our disclaimers? Uh, or you can also DM them to at Howler First Mate. In the Howler's Den, it's First Mate. It's it's the Fate Obsidian second account. So you can send in 2 ways there, and we want all of those so we can hear. That is only one of, I think there is 10 multiple choice questions. That is the one that, well, actually, Lyria and Volga, what do you see there as a friendship? Because there is debate of whether or not that's further than just friends. The other one of that is, did you trust the whole time that Lyria could win Volga back on to the Republic side? Did you trust that? And again, it's a yes or no until you email us, and you can fill us in on more of your responses. My personal favorite question that I asked is, and we don't theorize about Red God. We're not theorizing here. We were just asking you who you want to see. What relationship do you want to see reunited in Red God? And the options I gave you. And again, you can, if I left somebody off, email us. Victra, Severo, and the girls. Mustang, Darrow, and Pax. And like the kids around, whatever, because whatever. Clown and Pebble, where the fuck have they been?
Yep.
Lysander and Atalantia, because there's some weirdos out there. Abomination and Lilith, there's some weirdos out there. I don't know. And then I think Apollonius and Emir is your last option for that one.
Mm.
And if there's another relationship that you're like, actually, I want to revisit Quicksilver and Mateo, send it in. Tell us why. Do you agree with the, how do I pronounce it, tabula rasa? Yes or no? And then call us. So anyway, that survey is now live. We are now accepting things until a week from when this airs. So February 14th is the last time I will accept answers. And then Crescent, Salem, and I will discuss them all. And our opinions will not matter because all we want is your opinions. So go do
True.
that. But back at hand, we get both Cassius and Lyria. So I appreciate, I get it that there is definitely a mixed message of what is the intent there. And I would love to know what, because Pierce has said that he was writing and the two of them were standing there and said, oh God, like these two will get along. Like they will love each other. But in what that means, we're not, it's a little gray area. So.
I mean, and there's still some chapters left to go to see if those are answered.
Yes,
Exactly.
for sure.
So, I know you didn't ask me, but I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I really just want Thraxa to see her entire family. Like, I just want
one of the options. Okay, so one of the
Very
options
few
is
people that are
not,
left.
I didn't put in Thraxa and her whole family. I did put in, this is the other one, was Thraxa and Bad Lass. Let's reunite Thraxa with Bad Lass.
Nice.
So you're right. I will accept Thraxa and the whole family, but I did put an option of Thraxa and Bad Lass.
I'm sure she's going to be very happy. Very, very happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, so now we're in the chapter where they're headed to the Garter, try to go and defend it to make sure that nothing happens to it. Now that they've defeated Fa and they've gone through all of that, they have found out that Volga now has the votes that she needs. They have the
manic voicemail.
Yes.
The best.
Yes. And we get I believe they get the pandemonium back and all of that other jazz. They are super proud, right? They're super happy about all the things that are happening right now. They've got Fa's head next to Dominus Portobello. Now has a friend.
Admiral Stinkhorn.
Yes. Which is first of all, I just want to make a comment. I'm a fan, I'm a lover of coffee.
Yes.
And Datamedes, Datamedes has hurt my soul by not liking caffeine.
This is the dividing point.
Yeah.
How do you not like coffee, man? Like, what?
And I love it. I love it. Darrow calls it as, of course you don't.
Of course.
You fucking prude.
Like, even you won't even put caffeine in your body.
Like his body is a temple. His body is a temple.
I was just like, oh, you, come on. Come on.
Fucking nerd.
Yeah, you fucking nerd. And this is also so this is the chapter where you wrote your sticky note, and it kind of starts with this. So he kind of brings coffee to Cassius, because of course Cassius has coffee because he is sane. And they're kind
of gotta deal with the hangover somehow.
you have to. You need caffeine. And then he has like the kind of conversation about not only Lyria and like what she's been able to do, but he now talks about the potential of Volga, and
Mhm.
kind of what he wants her to be, leading the Obsidians, and basically gives Cassian a compliment and an opportunity, to be an even bigger part of it, and wants him to train Volga
Yeah.
with the razor, which I
Yeah.
thought was great.
So I
Um,
have thoughts about that specifically.
okay.
Mhm.
Do either of you remember what one of the last things Darrow says while Ragnar is fighting Aja is?
No. No idea.
I, w- I
He
wish it
would
would have
not
been a
recognize the broken branch move because he did not have a Razor Master. And so now he is securing a Razor Master
for
for
Volga,
Ragnar's daughter.
so that that doesn't happen again.
Oh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Jesus. Jesus. That feels, but yes.
That fails.
Um, that
Yeah.
fails. And then it leads for the first time, I believe for the first time, in such a um calm moment, that Cassian brings up Julian
Yes.
Yes.
with Darrow. You know what I
With
Yeah,
mean? Like,
Darrow,
and Darrow's
which
like,
they
Darrow
just
kind of
like
like freezes like deer in
we don't
headlights.
talk about dear. We don't talk about
He's like,
Julian.
he never talks about Julian, so
right.
I gotta let him. Like,
Um, and that's like a, and that's another, like, for me, that was such a great arc for Cassius, right? To have been
Mm-hmm.
holding this, and he had kind of sort of let it go, but that ability to speak to the man who technically, like, killed your brother, but to speak
Yeah.
about him with him, and it not be this resentful, vengeful Julian would have been. You don't
yeah,
know, you know what I
it's
mean?
not vitriolic. Yeah.
No, 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 and instead it's kind of like, he says this beautiful line. I made sure to sticky note it. He says, basically he says that Julian, um that I judge my own worth by too much of by the people I keep around me. I was poor in those days. I'm quite rich now, I think, and that is such an important
Hmm.
moment for me, for Cassius, because, like, I talked about how lonely he was and how he didn't feel like he fit, and this for me was like the click, right? Like, that he even realized, no, I have friends here. I do talk to Severo, and he does tell me things. And I have an eaglet, and Darrow is here, and, like, all of these
Yeah.
things have started to kind of click, for Cassius now, I think.
Hmm.
And that sentence alone, that bringing up of Julian, and for me, it was almost like he wishes his brother could see him now, because he had always thought that he was around such crappy people. And now look at me
Yeah.
now. So I just thought
Hmm.
that was a really beautiful moment, and in thanking Darrow for giving him that, for making him rich, um, even if it was just by watching how rich Darrow made himself, and for Darrow basically giving him the olive branch, be a part of it all. Um, I thought was just really beautiful.
Yep. For sure. Again, I just love all of this. Just,
Hmm.
just gonna cry
Darrow
a bit.
cries. I mean,
I've
Darrow
been
does
tearing up for
cry.
5 minutes.
I know.
Darrow does cry. In that
Yep.
whole moment after that whole conversation, he does cry. He has that tearful,
Yeah.
um, moment, and
Yeah,
that's
and
kind of,
it's not small either. Darrow's like, it takes me a while to compose myself.
yeah, yeah. Like, he doesn't speak; he just kind of, like, lets it
Yeah,
happen.
he's not ashamed to be crying in front of Cassius. Like, it's just he's
I think it
overwhelmed by
was
it.
overwhelmed, and I think it was his moment of vulnerability with him, right? Because
Hmm.
that crying leads him into thanking Cassius for helping him, but not just now in coming and saving him
Yeah.
from,
Yeah, not
and doing all
this
that.
small J
Mm-hmm.
journey.
Me as an entirety in this
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
entire, journey that Darrow has been on. Like you said at the beginning, like, they've always either been fighting or battling or at odds, but kind of friends, but not. They've had so many different things,
Yeah.
that I do believe Darrow needed. Darrow needed
Yep.
somebody like Cassius, whom he
Oh, for
respected
sure.
and who he wanted the approval of for whatever reason,
Mm.
to kind of always be what kind of clash and made him refocus of what he was doing. So I think that those breaks were important for both of them in different ways, and that built to this moment. But this is what leads up to your second sticky note of your reread, which is where they say
Brothers!
that they're brothers.
Mhm.
Which is a long time coming.
It is a long time coming.
Yeah, a long time coming back, because they do talk about it in Red Rising.
Yeah.
It's with Rogue, so I mean it kind of sours the moment. But...
Rogue. Yeah. Prepper, I don't know your opinion on Rogue, but we are not Rogue supporters over here. Okay, we got a middle finger. We got a middle finger for those listening and not watching. We've got a middle finger. Just
That's
a
right.
subtle one. Just a subtle.
Yeah, no, just a subtle one. My first read, I was like, damn it, Roke, you could have been good.
Yes.
My second read, I was like, you were never going to be good. You were never going to leave that mindset.
Yeah.
No matter what. I think it would have been interesting, right, to have maybe not had Quinn die. That would have really let him go astray.
Yeah.
But
he would never
all
have
in all,
accepted Darrow. Let's be serious.
I don't think he would have. No, yeah, I don't think he would have. I think that he would have turned.
Several says it. He was too in love with his own color.
Yeah.
He was. He was. And more so, and it's proven on the bridge in that whole conversation that happens with him on the bridge is proof that is who Roke was always going to be. Even though I don't doubt that he loved Darrow, but he loved Darrow when Darrow was gold.
Yes.
Yep.
And then that was it. Like that was his hard no. Oh, you're red? I don't care about anything. Now you're just a liar and you're everything else, and you're never gonna be this thing. So I thought that was interesting. And then they also talk here about right after that brotherly moment, we get the name of Darrow's fighting style.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thaw.
Yeah.
And up to this point, I didn't know what he was gonna name it. I was like, Winds of the Mind. Like
Oh, Winds of the Mind would have been good.
Yep.
That's honestly what I thought he was gonna call it. And even in his description of it, when he asks like why, he's like, in the mine there's always a wind flowing, and I was like, Wind of the Mine would have been like just what I would have anticipated. But Breath of Stone, I'll take it. But definitely Wind of the Mines is what I thought, and it kind of would have gone back to his meaning takes him back to his roots as Red.
Yeah.
I just thought the title would have been the same thing.
So do we think if Darrow ever gets to retirement, which we obviously don't know, well, we know, let's just say maybe he dies in chapter 81. Who knows?
Maybe. Never know.
And obviously we don't know what's happening in Red God, even if he survives. Can we see, seeing how we just lived through Lorne, we had that nostalgia break, Lorne clearly taught his style to all these people. Do we see a future of Darrow being a Razor Master coach and teaching? No, see, Crescent saying no. I would say no. Like, I get that he wants to be Lorne, but he is not the coaching style that, let's say, Cassius is the coach we have seen.
Yeah.
I don't think he would, for multiple reasons. I personally think, depending, I'm not going to theorize here what's going to happen with Red God, but if he were to survive this whole thing, I think he'll put the razor down.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
like I mean, he says it at the end of Morningstar when he can't hold a pen, let alone a razor.
Yeah.
Like he says, I hope I'll have less cause for it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could see that absolutely being the case. He's like, nope, I'm done. Yeah. Nope.
I think he might show Pax. I think he'll show Pax.
Ooh.
Yeah, and he'll show him once, and Pax will have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But I think it would also be a way of kind of like, I'm gonna get like really like cinematography and all of this right now. Like I can see like a scene of like Darrow taking Pax back to the mines of the Red to show him kind of like what he did and teaching him the style there, like very Karate Kid-esque, like right? Like,
I
and then like if this was a movie, like the scene would end as like the sand drifts up from the ground as they're trying to like figure it out with like the wind of the mines, and then boom, black screen, red god, movie over.
Oh, see, I have one small alteration to make to that.
Okay.
Is I think that a large portion of the scene would be lit by the sparks from Darrow's razors on the stones of the mine.
Ooh. All right. See, look, we've
As
got a
like
movie.
Somebody hire us.
he's whipping
Somebody
Foz
hire us.
visor. Yeah.
Pierce, we've got an ending here already. You know.
Pierce,
We
call
got
us.
it.
Yeah,
Just
get
get
it.
ready for you.
Actually, don't call us. Surprise us.
Leave a message on the Fade to Obsidian.
Fade to Obsidian at gmail.com. We want a voicemail.
There you go.
And we won't share it if you tell us not to share it.
Yeah, it'll just be just for us. Be
Yeah.
like,
Just
yes,
for us.
write that down.
Just
we
like
just
we
want to
did
credit
last time.
in the, you know.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh. um. So we get to that right after this lovely moment, because we can't ever just get notice the
No.
4 chapters are 27 pages. These 2 are probably 10, and we've had maybe 8 of them which are decent in like, oh, good moments, like a closure, like a this, like, hey, shit's happening. Darrow's
And
like,
then
I
we're
got everything
thrown
going.
right into war.
Right into war.
Hey, we have sarcasm before war. Okay.
You're right.
It's a lot of commitment being brothers. Darrow says, "Hey, I know it's coming, but I still almost bust a stitch."
Yes.
And then war.
And then war. And then war. Because long and behold, as they're trying to get to the garter, they realize that they're literally sailing amongst other ships, and beneath them, flying below, headed towards the garter, is what once was the Morning Star.
So this is my note. Literally said, had they not seen the Morning Star. This is the first time that they are aware that it is now Lightbringer.
Yeah.
And it is in depth described of the Republic's stars are now the Lune the Lune Crescents, it goes on. But yes, my note is they had not, so he didn't really know. Did he know at all?
Well, he knew, I don't think he did know at all. I think he knew that Lysander had his ships because, so the question here goes, the emotions awoken by seeing 8 kilometers of warship depends entirely on its paint job, which is what that line is. So he goes, it's the Morning Star, and Cassius corrects him and says, he has a new name. But here's the confusion, right? Because he must have known something, because the line reads, Cassius seems less surprised than he'd hoped he'd be, he reminds me it has a new name now.
Yeah, okay.
So I have a feeling that he knew.
Mustang must have said.
Mustang
there's no way
told
Mustang
him.
didn't put. Well, and there's the documents. Doesn't Darrow read through like insane amounts of documents?
She
There's
sent
no
him
way.
all the information. Yeah, so she had to have known, but this is the first time they're physically
seeing it.
Yeah.
And it's with them. So now shit is popping off. Shit's about to pop off, because what are they doing here? They're headed towards the same location. How long have they been here? What's going on? And then we go into Lysander's chapter.
Which,
though we have another mention of Leviathans.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
We're sailing among Leviathans.
My goodman, we're sailing among the Leviathans.
Be fucking terrifying. Yep. But can I just say that, so I had 2 full post-it notes and a note on the top of this one. And my last third post-it note for the last 2 chapters have 1 comment. It's 1.
I don't really care about what happens in this chapter.
Yeah.
Except for what it potentially sets up for later, because now he's kind of that's it. Just to theorize about what might happen later. If you guys have all read this, it's worth at least mentioning how he's able to kind of get Gaia safe, and a believer of her salvation, and lends herself to,
which is literally my note is about the Moon Lords in what we see, how they react in the Lysander chapter, and then with the like Diomedes coming in. Like, my note is just genuinely about the Moon Lords kind of at odds in these last two.
Yeah. Definitely.
But this is the first, I would say, full battle scene we have seen since Mustang signed her peace. We have not seen a full, not battle, but war is what I would call it. Because Fa was a battle. This is a full war.
Fa was a duel.
Yeah.
A duel and a chase.
A duel and a chase. Right. And this is now where we get back to almost Dark Age. And obviously at the beginning of this, we saw ship-to-ship battles. But even then, it was from Mustang's perspective and kind of a chase through the maze. This is the full loading into the spit tubes, the full what is coming. And the call out the whole time, I think it's in the Darrow chapters, of how Lysander makes himself look so good during all of it. But the interesting thing during the Lysander chapter that I took note is we just went through how many relationships, and not just in this, not just the Cassius, Darrow, Cassius, Lyria, Lyria, Volga, Darrow, Darrow, Severo, but take it back all those times we've seen previous to this, because we haven't had a Lysander chapter in a while. So then you get,
thank God,
Volga, Fa Atlas, like all of those. And there is nothing in this Lysander chapter that I would have called a human connection.
No.
It is all straight military. Rona's there. Oh my God, I forget her name. Yeah, they're all there.
Alice,
but they are not talking in the way a human talks to a human. They are all so robotic.
The only tiny bit of humanity that we see from Lysander
comes at the end.
Well, okay, maybe two then.
Okay, what's yours?
He's worried about Cicero's leg.
Oh, your leg, my good man. You have a spear through it. Yes, but I think at the end he's sincere when Gaia asks him of Diomedes's. Like I really don't know what happened to him. Like I felt that I've always felt him sincere in retrospect to what he believed, sincere in his rationale and his understanding of things.
Yeah.
I've felt his relationship with Diomedes sincere. His goal is to unite gold. He doesn't care about the other colors, to unite gold. And I do find his sincerity up to a point with Diomedes that, I mean, he does save him. He saves him from dying on that ship by sending him off into the ether. So there is a level there that I think is, but I love to see a chapter like this where Lysander's manning all of his men. And like you said, there's no humanity, versus when you know that the Darrow and his men are about to go through through the tubes. I can't remember which book it is, but they're all about to go through the tubes and they're joking and they're nervous, they're scared, but they're making jokes.
I think it's Golden. Is it Golden? It's Golden Sun or Morning Star.
I think it's Golden Sun.
And they're all calling out and they're all making fun of each other and they're and we're not seeing that here. It is just straight to the point, whatever, when we get it done. In comparison to I love it's the first moment the Victra and Mustang have what I would call kind words to each other, because they are joking on the same capacity, and that's why it sticks out in my mind is this moment of like, oh, these two women could be friends because they're making fun of Darrow. They're like, whatever, finding common things. We're not getting that in this. It is straight to the point. Shoot it out. We've got a job to do.
Everybody feels like they're playing a second game.
So
you can't be friends when everybody in the same ship, although we're all doing the same activity, each one of us has a dual motive in this moment, right? And so I think it lends itself to that. And then his pretentious, when I was reading this and listening to it, I was like, oh, yay, the Lysander chapter's over. But then I get his speech in a Darrow chapter, and I was so mad. like, no,
Yeah.
no. And he's just like so pretentious. I am this savior, this loon who has brought
Yeah.
the light in the darkness. I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. You piece of shit.
You're bringing me a lot of nausea right now,
Yeah, like,
you little bastard.
and I feel for Darrow because he's so mad listening to this that I almost wanted him to say, I think it's several, I'm going to kill you in your fucking face. Like, I wanted him to say
Yeah.
something so similar in that
I, I,
moment.
I mean, he basically does. He's like, that motherfucker's gonna burn, and
Yeah,
he goes on like there is like a not insignificant rant about
yes.
how he is going to kill
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, that motherfucker's gonna burn. I swear to Hades, I believe is what he says too.
Yeah,
But again, we've just come from this moment of Cassius and him talking about the effect he's had on Lysander, right? We've had Diomedes who's already defended him and now Darrow is in this like, what are we gonna do? Everything's foiled. Like this
Mm.
now another obstacle in his path that is not part of what he was anticipating. He got all this way, and now this is another thing, and he's stressed about that. He's afraid that they're going to deplete everything that they just gathered. You know,
Yeah.
they just were supposed to take all of this to Mars, and now he's faced with his enemy here, while Mars is still at war over there. You know,
Yeah.
he was not expecting this. That was not a part of the plan. So I think it's interesting, and this is a very short one page, literally one page chapter, that kind of just sets the tone for what's coming, which is now they have to figure out, well, what are they going to do about this, and how can they give Diomedes an opportunity that he says he thinks he has like a plan of what they could do,
Yeah.
that wouldn't result in war, um, per se, between them two. Who knows what Diomedes might come up with? He seems to want to be the peacemaker.
Yeah.
yeah.
We are on his planets, and I'm sure he doesn't want to see them continue to be destroyed while we figure out our shit.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's it. Diomedes has
Absolutely.
the home ground, if you will, the
right,
turf that, like, sure, Darrow doesn't want more deaths, but it's not Mars. He doesn't give a shit what's happening. It's Diomedes who's the one who's got his heart into where they are.
right,
So we have to put a lot of hope. But yeah, the Moon Lords, we get an interesting thing during the Lysander chapters that I really like, of Gaia saying, "Give me your gun."
oh
And it's
yeah,
this,
Yep.
it's this, okay, we're going to arm the Moon Lords, but talking about how frail they all kind of look, and like, you're at our mercy, you betrayed us, like it's a whole thing, but sure, we're gonna
yeah,
arm you. And then we flip and we get Diomedes being, who is really kind of, should be their quote unquote king,
yes,
um working for the other side. And I think I have a way, so like, where does this leave us? And that was like, so I took all the Lysander in that last and just went, I want to look at the Moon Lords and not what else is happening in my notes, like.
right. It's just it grits me like reading his chapters, and I know that I talked about this when I was first on, so I feel like I should repeat it just to really,
Yeah.
really bookend my feelings on this. Like,
Yeah.
I have never hated a fictional character more than I do him, and I've read a lot of fantasy with a lot of really like
Yeah.
big bad evil people that like I hated Umbridge for years. I'm almost 40. It was a long time running.
I was gonna
He is
call out Umbridge, of like, he
right.
feels like the Umbridge, like.
He's worse than Umbridge. Like I actually like hate him more than Umbridge. So it's crazy. It's
It is
crazy.
very
But
visceral. Yeah.
Yeah.
also just kudos to the epic writing of a good character.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
So
honestly, like
that
just because he's a shitty person doesn't mean he's not
right,
a great character.
an absolute great character, absolutely great.
Yep.
Um, just because of that, if it's well fleshed out, and you can only really truly, at least for this character, for me, I can only truly hate him this much because at one point I had hope for him. So it's not just hate, is that I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed and now I hate you. You
Yeah.
know, on top of everything else. Let's hope that in the end, I mean, I don't know where we're going, but
I don't know where we're going, and
So
we're gonna
we've still
pretend.
got 9 chapters to
We're gonna
find out if
pretend
he actually
we.
can redeem himself.
I was gonna call it out. Let's pretend that we don't know what's happening past this. Going
Right.
into Lightbringer, are you of the Merlot camp that you felt that there is a redemption story here, or are you of the Slink camp in which absolutely not, he cannot be redeemed?
No, for me personally, when he shot Alexander, I knew he was
That
no
was
longer
it.
redeemable. That
Okay.
was for me the moment that he could have chosen anything else.
Yeah.
And that for me, it wasn't him walking out on Cassius. It wasn't him in his fight in the Ladon. Like honestly, like it is what it is. He thinks he's doing what he thinks he needs to do for his people.
Yeah.
What he did to Alexander spoke more to his soul for me than anything else that had happened up until that point. And so that for me meant your soul is dirty. Like you can
Yeah.
say all the pretty words and you can have a pretty face and you can just promise and wish and hope, but your soul is stained.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Love
Yeah, I was very much in the same camp. I did start to have a little bit of hope through the book. I have had hope through the book, I should say. But I guess we'll find out where that goes.
We'll find out.
And you?
Oh, I never trusted Lysander. I am that person from day one who's like, this is the baddie, and that's all it is. Like, I was that, like, I never thought he would come to our side. I could not see a world because we've already won Cassius back. There's
Right.
no way we're winning more than that. The fact that we got Diomedes was like shocking, mind blowing to me. Of like, oh,
Yeah.
we get someone, but Diomedes has honor. We go back to that. The people we have
true
won
honor.
over to our
Right.
sides have honor. Lysander never showed that. He has always just shown he is there for himself and then for quote unquote his people, which are the golds that he likes. It's
Right.
not even all
Yeah.
of them.
No,
In
it's
fact,
not.
the fact that Pytha still kicks around on there. So I've never been in the he could have a redemption arc because I just from day one was like, nope, he is who he is. That's the big bad. Like, but that's also I am not someone who ever theorizes. I just look at the words on the page. I don't think of where they're going. So to
Right.
me, the words like page by page, this is where you're at. So when people say like, oh, what do you think? I was like, oh, I never thought to. In the same way people are like, where do you think this goes? I'm like, never thought to think about it.
I had held out hope. He had been 10 when he left. He was with Cassius for a little while. Not that Cassius was the best person for him to be with
Yep.
at that time, because the Cassius he got is not all the Cassius we got
Right.
leading up to that
Yeah.
moment. He got a broken Cassius.
Yep.
You know, but I was hoping that in his coming back and trying to be in the swing of things that he would have noticed how far the gold had swayed, which he does see that, but I thought that was going to make him try to bring the Reds to not have swung the pendulum so hard one way and have found a happy medium.
Yep.
And then it all went to shit. A handbasket.
Seriously.
So, but yeah, and then that's it. So now you guys got what, 2 more episodes left?
2 more. So
That's it.
Charon is with us
2 more.
next week.
Live with me.
Live. Oh, he's gonna be there in the room with you? Ooh.
I assume so. We actually haven't talked about it.
Oh.
But I have a recording set up and he doesn't. So
All right.
that's
for
my assumption.
those who remember, Karen did live with us last time and the dogs, so has done live with us before. And you guys, let's not say exactly what it is, but I hear you have a full cocktail prepped.
Yes, we sure do. We actually still have to finish it, but
I will just be drinking
gonna
wine
be
because they'll steal the
great.
scene with that one. And then we get Salem at the end of this for our last few chapters. And then after that, we do have a final episode lined up with Salem, but we also have another final episode that we will remain a secret until next week with a couple other people. We won't say who. So I don't know the order. It all depends in recording on whether or not we get Salem first. Like, we'll get definitely Salem for the end of the book, but Salem's wrap up, in which we will be going through all of your responses. So remember to fill in that survey and send us all your voice messages. Or we will get that other one out first. It all depends on when we end up recording or how much time I need to take in all of your lovely voicemails. So send us those voicemails at fadetoobsidian@gmail.com or in the Howler's
Let
Den.
your voice be heard.
Let your voice be heard if you're in the Howler's Den. DM First Mate. It is our secondary fake account. You'll find it in the Howler's Den. And we are excited. Also, if you have friends that want to do this survey, even if it's just the multiple choice, spread it far and wide, because we want it to be, it's purposely set up as multiple choice so that we can know the true consensus of the entire fandom. And there is questions that I wanted to ask that I was like, this is too particular to our podcast. Like, I was going to ask the question of what would Diomedes name the fish on the Dust Maker? And I was like, you know what? A little too specific to just our podcast, so I cut it. So it is, make sure you've read all of Lightbringer before doing it, but after that, spread it far and wide. Let everybody's voice be heard. I want voice messages from people I've never heard of. That's what I want.
I'm gonna put the form.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna put the survey in the Facebook group that I help mod,
Please
and
do.
that way we can get
Yeah.
them in it
Yeah.
as well. Just get more answers.
Because we did this way back in Red Rising, and there was people who, we did it for Golden Sun too, but Golden Sun didn't get as widespread. Red Rising got hilarious of like who people liked more as Darrow's wife, EO versus Mustang. Like, we spread it wide, and we got some very interesting responses because we spread it so wide, and we want to do the same for Lightbringer. So yes, please put it in your Facebook groups. Someone stick it on Reddit. Someone stick it in everywhere. Let's get what the fandom
With
truly
consent,
thinks.
you guys.
Absolutely.
With consent.
Absolutely. With consent, of course.
Consent is sexy.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. That is it. Prepper, any last words on these chapters?
No, I'm excited to have been figured out my own little bookend.
Yeah.
And I hope I can only hope that the brotherly love continues for the rest of these chapters.
Yeah. I would like to say we talked for an entire hour about chapter 77.
I told you.
And then
the
about
best
20
chapter.
minutes for 78. And about 5 for the rest.
All right. That's about
Look at us go.
Told you. But I completed all my notes. Thank you very much.
They've all been actioned. January complete.
January complete. Good work.
Good job. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining
coming
us. Let us know in what I'm calling our teenage years between Lightbringer and Red God, those awkward years that you don't know what you're doing with your life. What discussion you want to have, if there is a relationship or a spaceship, if you just want to talk about the Archimedes or whatever. And relationship is very abstract. Like,
true.
You can have a relationship with almost anything.
I got dreams for Thraxa.
Dreams for her. Let's talk Thraxa
about that.
Let's do it. Thraxa and Bad Lass.
The last time, so you know.
Yeah, yeah, we did. We'll always talk about her thighs.
Damn right.
I'm here for it.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening
and watching.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Or morning, I guess.